All right, Appendix B to the Part 242, CFR 49, Part 242, Procedure Submission, Appendix B, Procedure Submission and Approval for the Conductor Certification Programs. The Appendix establishes Procedure Submission and Approval of the Railroad Programs concerning the training, testing, evaluation, person seeking certification, recertification as a conductor in accordance with requirements, as the Part also contains the guidance of the FRA will exercise the review of approval ability. Submission by the Railroad provided with the Statute 242-101 that each railroad must have the program determination certification of each of the person its permits required to perform the conductor as a passenger conductor. Each railroad must submit an individual to the FRA as approved as provided by the 242-103. Each program has been accompanied with the request of the approval organized in accordance with the appendix request. The approval must be contained appropriate reference relevant to the portion of the program being discussed. Requests should be submitted to the written standardized paper 8.5 inch by 11 inch. Can be letter or narrative form. The railroad submission shall be sent to the Associated Administrative Railroad Safety Chief Safety Officer of the FRA. The mail address of the FRA 1200 New York, Jersey Avenue, Southeastern Washington, DC 20509. Simultaneously filling with the FRA each year. Each railroad must serve as a copy of the permission of the president of each labor union organization railroad employees subject to this part. Each of the railroad authorizes the file the electronic means of any program submission required under this part prior to submission. Person submitting a railroad first program submission electronically, the person shall be associated administrative with the following information in writing: the name of the railroad, the name of the two individuals, including the job title, who with the railroad point of the contact will be only the individuals allowed to the FRA secure document site. The mailing address of the railroad points of the contact railroad system, the main headquarters address and located in the United States, the email address of the railroad points of the contact at the same time, telephone number of the railroad points of the contact, request of the electronic submission of the FRA view written materials addressed by the Associated Administrative Railroad Safety Chief Office, Chief Safety Office, Federal Railroad Administrative, 1200 New Jersey Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C. 20590. Upon the receipt request, and the electronic submission contains information listed in the FRA will contact the requester for the instruction electronically submitting a program. A railroad that electronically submits an initial program, new portion of the revision approved with the programs required for this part of the considered to have the provided consent, receive approval, disapprove, and notice from the FRA by the email. May electronically store many materials required with the point of the regardless whether the railroad submits the material delivering the writing materials and the associated administrator opts to submit the materials electronically. A railroad opts to submit the materials required with the particular electronically provides one or more email addresses. Submission should be considered provided with the consent to receive the approval, disapproval, and notice of the FRA email or the mail. Organization of submission. Each request should be organized to present a required information following the standardized manner. Each section must begin with the name, the title, telephone number, mailing address of the person to contact concerning the matters addressed by this section. If a person is identified by the prior section, it is sufficient to meet the repeat of the person's name in the subsequent sections. Section 1 of the submission, general information and elections. The first section of the request may contain the railroads of the person to be contacted with the concern, including the person's name, title, telephone number, the mailing address. Statement electing either the acceptable responsibility for educating previously untrained persons to certified conductors, rectifying on the conductors previously certified of the railroads. Statute 242-103B. If the railroad elects not to provide initial conductor training, the railroad is obligated to state that so and it's in the submission. A railroad that makes an election will be limited to the certifying personnel initial certified by another railroad. A railroad makes the election be resigned by the obtaining the FRA approval and modifications of this program. Statute 242-103. If the railroad elects responsibility of the training person from not previously trained in as to be a conductor, the railroad obligated to submit information on how such the person will be trained, has no duty actually conducting such training. A railroad elects to accept the responsibility for the training of such person may authorize another railroad or non-railroad entity to perform actual training effort. The electing railroad is responsible for ensuring that such other training providers adhere to the training program railroad submits. This section must also state the type of services railroad employs. See 242-107. Section 2, the submission training personnel previously certified. The section of the request must contain information concerning the railroad program and the training previously certified conductors as provided in the statute 242-119-1. Each railroad must have a program for the ongoing education of the conductors to assure the maintain and necessary knowledge concerning operating rules, practices, familiarity with the physical characteristics relevant to the federal safety rules. All right. Section 242, 111, not, 119, 242, 119.1 provides that the railroad latitude selected specific subject matter to be covered duration, tarrying, method presenting information, the frequency in which the training was to be provided. The railway must describe the section of how to will use latitude as to ensure the conductors maintain and knowledge concerning the safe discharge of responsibility so to comply with the performance standards set forth with the statute 242, 119.1. The section must contain sufficient detail to permit efficient evaluation of railroad training programs in terms of subject matter, cover frequency, duration of the training session, if the training environmental employed, for example, the classroom use of computer-based training, use of films, slideshows, or use of the on-the-job, which accepts the program the voluntary mandatory. Which expects the program errors are voluntary or mandatory. Time circumstances have circumstances diminish the abstract knowledge, the proper application knowledge of the discretion events. Time circumstances also have a capacity value previously obtained by the knowledge application of knowledge. For the formulating it will be discretion. Restriction being afforded each railroad must be designed with the program to address the loss of retention knowledge of the change of the circumstances in this section. Submission to FRA must address these matters. For example, conductors need to have the fundamental knowledge of the operating rules and procedures refreshed periodically. Each railroad needs to have advised the FRA how the need to satisfy the terms terms of interval between audiences of such training, nature of the training of the provided, and the methods of conducting the training. A matter of particular concern of the FRA is how each of the railroads to ensure the conductor remain knowledgeable about the territory over which the conductor is authorized to perform, from which the conductor has been absent. The railroad must be on a plan. The railroad must have a plan for the familiarization, transportation, address question, and how long the person can be absent before needing more education. Once the threshold is reached, the person will acquire the need of education. Similarly, with the progress addressed with the railroad responding to changes such as the introduction of a new challenge, new operating rule books, significant changes in the operation, including alteration of territory conductors as authorized to work over. Section 3. The submission of testing evaluation person and person previously certified. The third section is requested most certain information concerns railroad programs testing evaluating previously certified conductors as provided in statute 242-121. Each railroad must have a program of ongoing testing evaluation is conducted to assure that they have no necessary knowledge concerning the operating rules and procedure, familiarity, physical characteristics of the territory, relevant federal safety rules similar to each of the railroad must have a proper ongoing testing evaluation to ensure the conductors have necessary vision and hearing acuity provided in 242-117. Section 242-121 requires the railroad relay on the written procedures determining each person demonstrates his or her knowledge of the railroad rules, practice, skills, applying the rules, practices, safety, performance, conductors. Section 242-121 directs when seeking demonstrated the person's knowledge. Railroad must employ the written test that contains objective questions answering covered the following subject matter: safety operating rules, 2 timetable instructions, 3 physical characteristics of the territory, 4 compliance with all applicable federal regulations. The test must accurately measure the person's knowledge of these areas. Section 242-121 provides a railroad latitude selection and design of its own testing policies, including the number of the questions of each of the tests and how and the required subject matter will be covered, weight, and if any, to be given in the particular subject matter response. Selecting of the passing scores, the manner of the presenting of test information, the railroad must increase from the section how it will use in latitude. Sure, the conductor will demonstrate the knowledge concerning the safe discharge of the responsibility so to comply with the performance standard setting of the statute 242-121. Section 242-117 provides a railroad latitude to rely on the professional medical opinion of the railroad medical examiner concerning the applicable person's standard acuity of the safely performed as the conductor. The railroad must describe the section on how to ensure the medical examiner sufficient information concerning the railroad operations effectively from the operating conclusion about the ability of the particular individual to safely perform as a conductor. Section 4 is the submission, training, testing, and evaluation person not previously certified. Unless railroad has made an election not to accept responsible for the conducting initial training of the person to be considered to be conducted. The fourth section of the request containing the information concerning the railroad programs for educating, testing, evaluation programs evaluating persons not previously trained as conductor, a person of the 242-119D, the railroad issuing the initial certification to a person to be conductor must have in the training, testing, and evaluation of its conductors to ensure that they acquire the necessary knowledge, skills, and concerning operating rules and practice, familiar physical characteristics of the territory, relevant federal safety rules. Section 242-119 establishes performance standards and given railroad latitude in selecting how and will meet the standards. The railroad must describe the section on how it will use the latitude to ensure the conductor will acquire sufficient knowledge and skills and demonstrate the knowledge and skill concerning the safe discharge responsibility. The section may contain the same level of detail concern the training program is described in each of the components. Overall program contained in section 2 through 4 in the appendix. Railroad plans of the acceptable initial training conductors may authorize from the railroad or non-railroad entity performing the actual training after the authorized railroad may, as submitted, training program be developed in an authorized trainer and the authorized railroad remain possible, assuring that such other training programs so other training providers adhere to the training program submitted. Railroads elected to rely on other entities and to conduct training away from the railroad's own territory must indicate that how the student will provide with the required familiarization physical characteristics of the territory. Section 5, submission of monitoring operational performance certified conductors. This section request must contain certain concerns with railroad and program monitoring operations certified conductors as provided by the statute 242-123. Each railroad must have a program for the ongoing monitoring of its conductors to ensure the perform conformity with the railroad operating rules and practices relevant to federal safety rules. Section 6 of the submission, procedure, routine administration of the conductor certification program. The final section of the requesting must contain the current summary of how the railroad's program procedure will implement the various specific aspects of regulatory provisions that relate the routine administrative certification program of the conductors. The minimum section needs to address the procedural except the rule provision identified with the paragraph. Section 242-109 provides that each railroad must have procedural review, the comment advisory prior safety conduct, but also read railroad devices on its own with the generalized parameters. Section 242-111, 242-115, and 242-403 require railroad procedures for evaluating data concerning prior safety conduct of such a motor vehicle or railroad workers, yet leave the sections and many details to the railroad. Section 242-109, 242-201, 242-401 place the duty of the railroad to make the serious determinations, but allow the railroad to select the procedures to employ. They assure that the necessary determinations have been made in a timely fashion. Will be authorized to conclude that the person will not be certified how it will communicate adverse decision documentation factual basis of railroad on the making determinations of statute 242-109, 117, 119, and 121 as required by the section permits the railroad the procedures that will employ. The compliance with the provision is section 242, 125, and 127 permit the reliance of certification qualification determinations made by the entities and permitted with the railroad latitude of the selection procedure will employ the assure the compliance with these provisions. Similarly, the 242-301 permits the railroad selected procedures meet the requirements of certification conductors performing services in joint operations. Section 242-211, 242-407 allow the railroad to a certain degree of discretion within the requirements for replacing law certificate conduct with certification revocation procedures. The section request should outline the summary fashion manner in the railroad which implement the program so they comply with the specific aspects of each of the rule prescribed in preceding paragraphs. The FRA review the submission made by the conformity with the appendix will be deemed approved within 30 days after the filing date. The actual filing date with it, whichever is later, with normal approved document which is issued by the FRA. FRA has been taken responsibility in notifying the railroad which detects problems of the railroad program. The FRA retains disapprove the program has obtained approval due to the passage of the time provided within 242-103. Rather than establish rigid requirements element of the program, the FRA, given the discretion of the letter, selects the design of individual programs with the specified context in each element. The rule, however, provides a good guide to consideration address design program that will be met with the performance standards and rules. And retrieving the program of the submission of FRA will focus on the degree which the particular program deviates from the normal identified with this rule. The degree that the particular program submission material deviates from the norm of the set out of the rule. The FRA reviews approval process will focus to determine on the validity of the reason relied on the railroad selecting the alternative approach for the degree which has an alternative approach is likely to be effective producing conductors who have knowledge and ability to safely perform as conductors.